Welcome to Wildcat Science with Mrs. Haugo. This is Human Biology, Chapter 6 on the Integumentary System, Part 2. We are going to pick up talking about accessory structures. Sebaceous glands are the first accessory structure I would like to talk about. Sebaceous glands produce sebum, or oil, and this prevents the skin and hair from drying out. Adolescence is a time when your body produces more sebum than it does during other times of your life. You may not prefer this, but I can assure you, you would not like your skin or hair if it produced no sebum. Probably wouldn't even have it. It'd be too dry out and it wouldn't work. Sebaceous glands are sac-like glands that connect to hair follicles. Some fun facts: pimples are infected sebaceous glands, and blackheads are dried sebum and keratin that have collected in the openings of sebaceous glands. Fun! Let's take a look at some sebaceous glands. Here is a free sebaceous gland, and here is a sebaceous gland connected to the hair follicle. There has been a cross-section of this tissue, and it is shown here. If you remember our types of cuts from Chapter 1, this is a cross-section. The hair itself is here, and the cells around the hair are there, and then these are the cells of the sebaceous gland. Another type of accessory structure are the sudoriferous glands. They produce perspiration to cool the body. They are coiled tubes found in the dermis and subcutaneous tissue, and they open up into the epidermis layer of the skin. There are two types of sudoriferous glands, your eccrine and apocrine. Eccrine sudoriferous glands are your regular sweat glands, and they are found everywhere in the skin. Some fun facts: ceruminous glands found in the ear canal that make cerumen, earwax, are actually modified sweat glands. And mammary glands in the breast are actually modified sweat glands. Everyone has mammary glands, but they only make milk in lactating females. Some more information about sudoriferous glands are the apocrine sudoriferous glands are mainly found near the hair follicles in armpits and the genital regions, and they develop at puberty. They secrete during emotional and sexual stimulation. And a fun fact is body odor is when the bacteria breaks these secretions down. So this is one reason why when you are stressed and you sweat, you will have more body odor, or why a group of first graders running around aren't as stinky as a group of seventh graders who've been running around. So looking at a picture, we know our sudoriferous glands and our sebaceous glands are in the dermis layer. Here is a sudoriferous gland, an eccrine sudoriferous gland, and apocrine sudoriferous gland would look very similar. And again, our sebaceous gland. Hair is another accessory structure of the integumentary system, and hair is not living, and it is made mostly of the protein keratin. Hair develops from stem cells at the bottom of the hair follicle, and the hair follicle is a covering of epithelial and connective tissue. If you remember your types of tissues from Chapter 4. Melanocytes in the hair follicle give hair its color. So the type and number of melanocytes will determine how much melanin and the color of your hair, whether it's blonde, red, brown, black. Some anatomy of hair is the part of hair above the skin is the shaft, and below the skin is the root. Let's talk about goosebumps. So goosebumps are caused by involuntary muscles connected to most hair follicles. This involuntary muscle is your erector pili muscle. It will contract when you are cold or frightened. Now, goosebumps are an evolutionary holdover. So many mammals and our ancestors would have had more fur, and you could notice when I have goosebumps and my hair is sticking up, it is not going to keep me very warm. However, if I was covered in fur, there would be a lot of insulation, a lot of air would help insulate me. And also, when my arm hair is sticking up, I don't look very ferocious, but if I was covered in fur, I would look bigger and therefore perhaps more ferocious. So let's talk about the structure of hair. Looking at the picture, you can see the sebaceous gland, the hair follicle, the hair below the skin is the root, and above is the shaft, and then the arrector pili muscle. Looking over here is a cross-section of the hair, and that is interesting to look at all the different types of cells. So functions of hair, which I said are not as important in humans, but they are very important in other mammals. Protection, thermoregulation, and sensory. You can think of a rat or a cat and its whiskers being modified hair, and that tells it a lot of information, a lot of sensory information. Nails are another accessory structure we are going to talk about. Their function is to protect the fingers and toes and help with grasping small objects. Nails are made of keratin, and it is formed by the epidermis of the skin. Some anatomy of the nail is the nail root. New cells are always being made here at the nail root, and this is at the proximal end of the nail, and it is located under the skin by the cuticle. The nail plate is the nail, and the nail bed is the skin underneath the nail. So let's look at a drawing of the nail. I would like you to make a drawing of the nail, and you should be labeling our anatomy terms. Another term is the cuticle. This is part of the epidermis of the skin, and as you can see, it seals the space between the nail plate and the skin above the nail root. In this picture, you can see the nail plate and the cuticle sealing that and the place between the nail root. The lunula is this lighter semicircle on the proximal end, and it is lighter because it is a thicker growing region. Then there is the free edge. This is the distal end of the nail. So you should have made a drawing with all of the terms labeled. If you would like to make this lower drawing, this cross section, you may do that, but you don't have to. So those are the accessory structures of the integumentary system. Next up, we are going to talk about the effects of aging on the integumentary system. So people lose elastic fibers, collagen, and adipose tissue, as well as sebum production goes down as they age. I would like you to think about it for a minute, and using what you know about tissues, what would happen to the integumentary system when you lose some of this tissue? Okay, so did you get some of these? So as you lose elastic fibers, well, obviously your skin is going to become less elastic. As you can see, when you do that, your skin will jump back into place. As you get older, it doesn't spring like that. As you lose collagen and adipose tissue, your skin is thinner and more fragile, and that will cause wrinkles. And as the sebum production goes down, you get drier hair and skin. And also thinner skin because you're losing some tissue. Pigment formation also decreases, and this leads to gray hair and pale skin. Gray hair is when your melanocytes are no longer producing the melanin, and then the hair looks gray. Older people often have more trouble with heat because of decreased sweat glands, and so they are not able to moderate their temperature with sweating and evaporative cooling. On the other side of that, they have more trouble with cold because of less adipose tissue, which we know is a good insulator, and they have poor circulation, or it's not as good as it was when they were young. So looking at some disorders, we will go over the disorders in our third and final video of the integumentary system. Thank you.